Alright, hello and welcome. We're going to be getting started very shortly on some Total War Warhammer 2 community replays. Yes, it's that time again. Last week I had the South Sea Mercenary League semi and grand finals, so we did not have a community replay stream, but we're back. We're going to again skip next weekend, then we'll be back right around the new year for another replay stream. But yeah, this is basically just going to be a recurring series until the release of Game 3. Who knows? I may continue it after the release of Game 3, just showcasing some of the wonderful replays I get, since I am realistically not going to be able to showcase many of them if I don't do something like this, to just kind of, shotgun, get a bunch of them done all at once. And it is something I also enjoy, so hopefully you guys are well. Hopefully you're strapped in, ready to go. We've got some excellent replays in for today. So let me just get this going here. And we will get started. Just double check something here. Hopefully you guys are okay. Sound is working. Excellent. So we're going to start out with the Emperor taking the Empire, obviously here. The Emperor Patron Mine, big thanks to him for his generosity. Up against Skaven, very interesting Skaven build, double Brood Horror. Also got Natty Bubo's Sharpshooters, looks like an Assassin here. Couple Assassins. Yeah, Skrulk, old school Skrulk leading the way. Some Clan Rats up front, Clan Rat Spears out on the side. Clan Rats as a unit are an interesting take. I generally am not that much of a fan, but on the Empire side here, Empire Captain, we've got some Flagellants, Swordsmen, some more Flagellants out to the flanks. Knights of the Blazing Sun here, some more Empire Knights, Free Company Militia through the center, Jade Wizard, and some more Knights of the Blazing Sun. Looking pretty good, nice wide. Free Company definitely a solid pick in this matchup. Lack of Rat Ogres definitely. I mean, I guess we do have two Rat Ogres here, which really oftentimes won't be enough against the Empire in order to hold back their heavy cavalry and mass units. Generally, I would say like 3 to 4 Rat Ogres can be a little bit tricky. Pistoliers also trade very well in Rat Ogres, and again, these Free Company will also. So we'll have to see. Definitely will have to see. Right now, the Flagellants are going to be getting in there. Just whacking these Clan Rats all over the face. Flagellants, such an awesome unit. Really good in a lot of matchups for the Empire right now. They will trade very well here. Rat Ogres are going to go into the Swordsmen. There's honestly not that many great targets other than the heavy cavalry. So, in my opinion, the Rat Ogres really should just shadow, like stay close, just wherever the heavy cavalry comes in, try and countercharge and try and not get charged. But here, Brood Horror in support of these Clan Rats. The Clan Rats do countercharge at the last second, which is going to cost them pretty dearly. General of the Empire comes in with a really nice stand your ground here. That fire damage, of course, going to be brutal against the Brood Horror. So, actually a pretty good engagement for the Empire, although on the surface might not seem so. The Natty Bubos are going to put in some fire, try and even that out. Assassin looking like he might want to pop in there, but the Rune Fang's still active. 600 weapon strength on the General of the Empire. Kind of like a discount Carl. You don't get quite as much support ability and not as much HP and just not as much of everything, really, as Carl, but it does cost less, so that's nice. That being said, a little bit of healing over there. Extended Earthblood from the caster, who did miscast, but that's just fine. On the opposite flank here, I haven't really been paying attention, but Captain is fighting. And he's holding the line here. We've got Free Company kind of holding the line as well. It's a little bit of a mixed bag. Clan Rats, Skaven Slaves a bit of getting routed off, but also doing significant damage here. Rat Ogre's kind of pushing through, but also facing a nice concave of fire. So, pretty good back and forth so far. Empire's definitely taken significant losses. We've got Clan Rats kind of overrunning over here, but the heavy cavalry's still online. General of the Empire also still pretty healthy, just making sure this Brood Horror does not come back and continue to regenerate, which is definitely the right call. Those regenerating units, need to get rid of them, because between the regenerating units and the summons, Skaven actually can play quite a good attrition game. Now, there's no Poison Wind Globes or mortars here, which kind of play into that attrition, right? Or same thing with the Plague Furnace. Really not quite as good of an attrition faction as Vampire Counts, to be honest. They're definitely the best at that playstyle, but think about other attrition factions, like Dwarves do it just through sheer tenacity, right? They don't have any summons or healing or anything really. They just refuse to die due to their armor and melee defense, and magic resistance, and everything else. It's interesting to think about kind of the ways that these different attrition-based factions, at least factions that can play into that, I should say. Definitely all of those factions can play other ways, of course. A Free Company forming a nice little pocket here. President's trying to rain in fire. The Skaven definitely going for a more of a blob, but we've got these Sigmar Sons and the other unbreakable units. The fact that they're so sticky and you just kind of can't get rid of them, even once they're so low like this, they're not going to rout. It's very tough to deal with, especially for Skaven units where, you know, one flagellant attacking them in the rear can almost cause them to rout, like, just because their leadership is so bad that the attack in the side and rear penalties are so significant that only a couple of unit models can trigger that, and it's a pain. It's a big, big pain for the Skaven to deal with these troops. So nice to see there. The General of the Empire also flipping back in to combat here, looking to perhaps dive on Skrolk. The Brood Horror is also in a position to somewhat support, but these Knights of the Blazing Sun, again, can charge. The Brood Horror, Council Guard also still looming. They are also unbreakable, right? So they'll continue to fight the Flagellants till the end times. But the Natty Boobos get back online. Assassin and the Skaven Slaves are able to kind of push back those Knights of the Blazing Sun. Got a little bit of a high ground position here, which is going to benefit their missile damage, I believe. I want to say it's missile damage and weapon strength. Could be wrong about that. I'd have to double check. Anyway. Assassin's Trophy, Runefang, Regrowth, Sandia Ground also just dropped there, but massive concave of Free Company fire in this late game is way more than what the Brood Horror can deal with. You know, very low armor there, just a little bit of missile resistance. Definitely can't stand up to that. The General also comes in, gets a few huge attacks on Skrolk, terror routs him. General's just about at his healing cap. Assassin's Trophy results in some damage from the Council Guard in melee, but he can pull back up into the air, and the Free Company advance at this point. They can kind of just, like, fire and move up this hill. Take the Skaven ground. Finish them off. Still got a handful of summons here. The Council Guard are going to form a little bit of a bastion. Try and hold out. Ooh, nice Plague Breath, though. Skaven not out of this yet. Definitely clawing back in this game. Trying to get those Free Company. If he could somehow salvage, yeah, I don't know, with the Natty Boobos, they're very unlikely to come back from rout at this point, especially with Skrolk getting probably finished off by the General here. We'll see. Skrolk does manage to screen with some clan rats. Pops his Liber Bubonicus. No, that's not right. The Rod of Corruption is the AoE one. That's right. I forget these things from time to time. Been doing this so long. Anyway. Charmed Shield, also a little bit of damage resistance, and Missile Parry. The Free Company Friendly Fire won't do quite so much with that extra little bit of Missile Parry there. But, yeah. We've got Empire Knights just kind of pulling away here. Free Company Militia, again, trying to form a little bit of a concave. They're a little bit stacked up on top of each other. In this situation, it's just a little bit of micro to try and spread them out. But here it does look like they are going to do so. We've also got this other Free Company kind of putting a nice fire. Brutal charge by these Empire Knights into the flank here as well. They just, again, provide the attack in the side and rear debuff to like all of these units. Even though the Assassin's probably going to come in and punish them pretty hard. Definitely a shameful display for the Skaven. More Knights of the Blazing Sun just, oh man, just sending the rats tumbling, fleeing down the hill. That should be pretty much game. Yeah, Skrolk is going to get canned by the General, and that'll be a victory. Nice build. I like the generic General of the Empire plus Free Company, you know, just massive presence. I mean, a lot of mid-tier units, honestly, and that's one strength of the Empire, of taking kind of the General or one of their other cheaper lords, like the Archlector, and go very wide and still have a lot of strong mid-tier troops that support each other very well. So very good to see here. I mean, no direct fire synergy, but just the innate fire damage of Knights of the Blazing Sun does help quite a bit against the Brood Horrors. Both of them were severely limited. Again, I think you just need more Rat Ogres here, honestly. And like the Clan Rats as a unit, I think you just trade out for more chaff, probably take some slings, and then maybe try and get like one mortar or a globe just to have some kind of damage over time effect. Skrolk also somewhat vulnerable. He is a pretty strong lord, not nearly as meta as he used to be back in the day, but still pretty decent. Definitely like the double assassins, though. If you are going to take a caster lord, not too bad. Although, again, maybe you should take the Packmaster, just so you can get some healing on some of these clan molder monsters. Anyway, Empire side, yeah, Free Company I would expect to be very cost-effective. 150 kills. Sigmar Sons also pay for themselves. Man, 1328 on some Flagellants on 96 kills. That is quite impressive. Other Flagellants here, almost 600, so really the unbreakable troops of the Empire are just so good here. Steam Tank, situationally, can be pretty good, although the Skaven missiles can definitely punish you pretty hard, so there's that. Yeah, just overall awesome game. Great to start with some quality Empire gameplays, so thank you to the Emperor for his patronage, and also for sending that one in. This one here, sent in by... Just want to make sure I get the name on Discord here. This is Captain Telis. Going up against Vampire Counts Tretch, playing as Templar, which makes a lot of sense. Plains of the Dead, again, very appropriate for the map. A couple of Crypt Horrors, 3 Blood Knights. Triple Blood Knights super strong against Beastmen. Beastmen, for all of their new tools and stuff in this matchup, I mean, probably the best way to counter Blood Knights is Traitorkin right now. Traitorkin is quite strong, but Kemmler, pretty decent support lord. We've also got plenty of Skeleton Spears, Zombies up front, some Gore Herds with shields, Ungor Raiders, Torox Brass Bull, Koroks Man Rippers, and the Blood Brute Behemoth. Bray Shaman Lore Wild, so I do expect then we would see, yeah, Traitorkin, I believe is what that is. That's pretty much what you'd want, and just spam it on the Blood Knights, yep. So, the Blood Knights are going to have to be careful not to blob up too much, which is going to be tough against these high-value, low-armor single entities that they want to cycle charge. But essentially, you just have to, again, keep from getting blobbed up too much. Nice opening with the Scabscrath there, just to kind of even out that fight. Go after the Blackhorns Ravagers. They charge into some zombies, which they absolutely will just eviscerate those zombies, but it'll take them some time. Meanwhile, the rest of the Beastmen just advancing up the pipe here. Previously, this would have been a really tough matchup for them. One thing to note, though, about the Vampire Counts is, other than Krell, they don't have any source of terror, which is definitely a mistake. I mean, it's pretty easy to just mix in like a Banshee. I think they even have an empty hero slot, and yes, the Beastmen do have some magic damage. Not too much, though, like, definitely enough that you can handle it no problem, so, yeah. Here's, is that Krell? In the center? No, that's the regular White King just getting mauled by Torox. Blood Brute Behemoth also fighting. Right now, the Blood Knights are just kind of sweeping the support units, which, to be honest, I think is probably the right call. If you can kind of roll up a lot of these unit models, because one-on-one, actually, the Vampire kind of Skeleton and Zombie troops won't trade really very well against Gores. And Ungors even. I mean, the Ungors, their leadership's not amazing, sure, but 25 melee attack's pretty decent for a low-tier spear. Yes, the Skeleton Spearmen have 30 melee defense, but, I mean, even the zombies will get worn down by Ungor Spearman Herd. They're definitely one of the better low-tier spears in the game, in my opinion, but White King getting taken down early on would definitely be a big benefit, but Torox now, moving in the vicinity of Krell, is going to have to be careful. He does not want to tangle with Krell. I mean, as formidable of a combatant as Torox is, Krell is, you know, on that tier, with that anti-large bonus applying in that situation. But a nice rear charge from these Blood Knights, I guess kind of side charge. Going to get in here, but once again, that does open them up to that Traitorkin, which is probably going to finish off that White King as well. Blood Knights taking a huge amount of damage. Likewise, the Konigstein Stalkers, Regiment of Renowned Skeletons, also get hit by that, so really nice cast of that Traitorkin there. Kemmler supporting his troops over on the side, getting a little bit of healing from that sword. No, does he not have Chaos Tomb Blade? Oh, he does, okay. Just is a little bit buggy right now. But Blood Brute's got to be careful, kind of going out here on his own after these Blood Knights. Not really a lot of support. I mean, I guess he does have the Koroks Man Rippers that are trying to screen this other unit of Blood Knights here, but you can see that Blood Brute just takes huge shock damage once the Blood Knights are able to get a surround while their charge bonus is still active. The Raiders definitely want to hang back and just shoot the Crypt Horrors at this point. But Koroks Man Rippers are desperately trying to get in here to save the day, and they do manage to screen out effectively The Blood Brute Behemoth is going to be able to get away. Honestly, that zombie summon might not be the best thing in the world, because the Blood Brute's now just going to be able to sit and heal. I guess trying to just catch him so that Krell can go in and finish him off, but honestly, the Blood Brute could just go, like, fight these Fellbats for a second and just heal with his Hunger trait, or whatever it's called. I guess it's not technically Hunger. Is it just straight-up regeneration? No, it's not. It's something else. That's right. Korok's Man Rippers, though, just shadowing these Blood Knights, which is exactly what they want to do. Just wherever the Blood Knights try and go, the Korok's Man Rippers want to try and be there, but at the same time, you don't want to overextend from units that you need to protect, right? So I'd probably stay relatively close to the Blood Brute, honestly, since that's going to be your main kind of source of power here. Fight with the Blood Brute, and Torok's kind of on top of these Korok's Man Rippers. But we'll see. Right now, the Ungol Raiders are pretty safe, but this big kind of flanking attack here at the Blood Knights, the Skeleton Spears, and all this is overwhelming. Can definitely come in and threaten. You can see the Blood Roots kind of hanging around, trying to respond to that. But Blood Knights here getting a little bit of healing, upgraded Invocation of Nehek, just kind of chilling while that takes effect, regenerating a little bit of their vigor as well, just resting up. I guess binding in the case of undead units, right? But Bray Shaman again, just kind of chilling here. This is great for the Blood Brute to just be fighting these low-tier troops. Even the Skeleton Spears, they'll do a tiny bit of damage to him, but especially with as few numbers as they have, they're really, like, not even in a full surround here, right? So, anyway, Krell also went down already, so with the Krell summon being offline, the Beastmen don't have to worry about any terror. The Blood Knights are a terror in a different form, but the actual terror mechanic, obviously. Hey, what's up, Current Year? Good to see you. Just having a ball. Not as much of a ball as Torok's fighting these skeletons, though. I mean, they are literally just wet noodling him, just slapping him with pool noodles, which, while it definitely makes a loud sound, is not necessarily very effective against a Minotaur made of literal metal. So, anyway, Cryptor is getting in here. Honestly, Blood Brute with the spear support can just sit and fight those Cryptors, but going instead after the more high-value target, trying to get these Blood Knights, again, him plus Torok's together against the Blood Knights is definitely better than either of them individually. That's pretty decent. We've also got some spears just kind of sitting around here that definitely need to get in, try and get a full surround. The vampire counts definitely have the numbers at this point to collapse basically everything that's not an elite target, and then they should be able to solo these elite targets with everything else gone, but going to be a little bit tricky right now. They're like leaving these Ungol Raiders online for quite some time. The Korok's Man Rippers also, I mean, they're pretty threatening. And what you need to do is isolate them by killing everything else. Then, you know, the Blood Brute plus Torok's on top of the Korok's Man Rippers is going to be a challenge for sure. But, I mean, you should be able to get it done. We'll see. Cryptors are going to get in there. The Blood Brute just does so much damage that he can KO the Cryptor models. But let's see. The Blood Knights probably aren't going to get that great of a charge because the Cryptors were somewhat interrupting them. But thankfully for them, the Blood Brute does kind of dive through. We do have the Korok's Man Rippers somewhat filtered into this engagement. Yeah, they're definitely pushing the Blood Knights away. Ooh, brutal Traderkin as well. That caster staying alive into the late game. Also a little bit of a blunder, perhaps. Kemmler maybe could have come in and tried to finish him off, but Torok's, I guess, is in a position to try and protect at this point. Definitely Korok's Man Rippers plus that, has a couple more casts of that Traderkin, and that would definitely do it in this late game blob. Staying very, very patient with that Winds of Magic. The Blood Brute's definitely in trouble, trying to finish off Kemmler. Ends up kind of pushing himself away from any form of support. Korok's Man Rippers are going to have to rush over there. Thankfully, Torok's hasn't done the same, but a pretty nice engagement there. He was just able to get up and out and around. I mean, granted, the Vampire Counts didn't have an attack mortar on him. Kind of led him to a degree. Definitely should have just gone for the full surround on the Blood Brute there and tried to finish him off. But instead, disengaging, pulling up and around, trying to take advantage of the charge bonus. But really, I mean, you're charging through the back of your own troops into an anti-large AP charge bonus infantry, right? Which is not going to work out super well for those Blood Knights. They need to fan out and come around and rear charge this pocket right here. But the Blood Brute's definitely responding as best he can. Again, going after Kemmler, trying not to overextend, so doing a good job of coming back anytime he pushes out too far. But Ungol Raider's going to get shut down by the column of Blood Knights there. Yeah, I mean, feel free to drop them in the Discord. I will absolutely pull them up on stream. Hey, what's up, Cool Umbrella? I did get a couple of you from you, Cool Umbrella, because I know you dropped a few since the last replay stream, so I did grab a couple from you. But yeah, if you guys want to drop in more replays, I mean, by all means, if I don't get to them in this stream, I am going to be doing another stream right around New Year's, probably right before the end of the year. Yeah, unfortunately tonight I don't have time to do like a full-on 6-hour, otherwise I honestly would, but unfortunately holiday family stuff is somewhat dictated, like that's why I couldn't start earlier in the day today as much as I would have wanted to. But anyway, Korok's Man Ripper's still holding out. The Vrashim Lore Wild also somehow still alive. I'm pretty impressed, honestly, considering his somewhat low stats. I mean, 310 weapon strength's alright, 38 charge bonus also not too bad. But, I mean, that defensive stat's definitely very poor. I guess as part of that goes back to the vampire counts not really having enough terror here, but the Blood Knights might still be able to carry it, honestly. The problem is these Korok's Man Rippers, like, they can't just get a full surround on these targets like they want to. What the Blood Knights really need to do, right, is fan out so they're not all in one blob and charge these Korok's Man Rippers themselves from multiple angles and continue to do that. Just cycle charge them from like a triangle, right? Try and move these infantry in to fix if you can, and then just charge these guys from multiple angles. Hopefully you can break their leadership and do enough shock damage to get rid of the unit, but here they do manage to just about get the Blood Brute. I mean, nice little surround there. The Blood Brute's regeneration, though, does keep him alive, and again, I think the Korok's Man Rippers, they don't have any form of healing or recoverability, right? So any damage you do to them is... seems counterintuitive sometimes, right? To just go it, but it's like the same thing sometimes when you're, like, let's say you have a Griffin and you're trying to beat a build that has, I don't know, Minotaurs with great weapons, just as a random example. Like, you want to ideally hit the Minotaurs with great weapons directly with the Griffins. You can't get countercharged, you'll do a bunch of shock damage, ideally, and maybe break their leadership. You know, it seems counterintuitive, but to go directly after the counters that are left is, I think, the right call here, especially, again, given the regeneration and everything else. But the problem is that Kemmler can't really sit and fight and help his Blood Knights regenerate. They really want to fight with Kemmler and get that Chaos Tomb Blade, so, like, again, Blood Knights all being in a blob here is definitely a mistake. Like, one could go out with Kemmler and, you know, help fight these this Vrashim and get a little bit of healing from him, while the other two continue to perhaps cycle charge this Korok's Man Rippers, whatever else. But they're just kind of allowing the Beastmen to recover here, and I get it. Now, I'm very much guilty of the same thing sometimes, of using my cavalry in a big blob like this, but in a late game, you know, when you don't really have much else to micro, it makes sense to regroup, literally, as in, like, you know, change the groupings of your army so that they're each in their own group, and you can quick, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, micro them more effectively that way, get them in a nice surround. But here, fighting in this kind of full-on frontal blob, the Korok's Man Rippers are just going to savage the Blood Knights. They really are not going to be able to get through this Beast Halberd unit. So, fun replay, unique unit. Like, literally unique unit. The only Beastman Halberd so far. Maybe we'll get Pestigors one day and they'll have Halberds as base. But at least for the time being, unique unit. Oof, nice hit there from Torox. Kemmler, on his last stand, tries to bring up some zombies. Blood Knights are going to come up and around. And Kemmler's not a complete pushover, especially with that Cloak of Mist and Shadows, 60% physical resistance. And Strider means that he might be able to get away, but it's a little bit too late for Kemmler to try and salvage this one. I think, yeah, just cavalry misplay, I would say, in the late game. Honestly, probably cost stretch. He may have had a chance, and again, a little bit of RNG factor there at the end, but just cycle charging the Korok's Man Rippers directly from multiple directions, and that's the important part, is that you need to hit them, any unit that has this kind of anti-large AP charge defense, you need to hit them from multiple angles. Get through their melee defense and armor a little bit better that way too. And anyway, they themselves, though, almost 3,000 damage value, 20,000 damage dealt, 210 kills. Is that the best performance of any Beastman infantry? on this channel, like since the beginning of value tracking. It might be, honestly. That is quite impressive for the unique Koroks Man Rippers. Likewise, the Blackhorns Ravagers, 110 kills, but quite a bit less value. The Bloodbrute Behemoth here, 4,332 value, 18,000 damage dealt. You do get kind of inflated values oftentimes against vampire accounts because of the nature of their healing expensive units. But still, Torok's Brass Bull also gets quite a bit of value there. Bratium Lord Wild, some brutal Raiderkins. Yeah, Ungor Spearman Herd even, like, doubling up their value in one case, which is awesome to see. Like I mentioned, I am a big fan of Ungor Spearman Herds in general as a unit. So, hey, what's up, Elgin of the Mist? Good to see you. Coops. Yeah, I think I've got a few from you as well, Coops. We'll continue on through the replays, but let's see. That was a good one, definitely. Big thanks to Captain Telis for sending that one in on the Vampire Count side. Blood Knights do well, but not quite enough. The Crypt Horror is definitely a letdown. I don't know. I see people take Crypt Horrors, and, like, I understand sometimes, but also I don't get it. Like, I just don't see them paying out so often. And I get, like, it's more just a mass thing than anything else, but, like, I think you literally just, like, take Graveguard instead in most situations, and it's better. Anyway, yeah, interesting. Let's go on to the next replay without too much further ado. This one from Way, and you know I had to, with the title like this, I have to show this replay off. Wow. Just wow. Look at this. He's got Malice Darkblade. Okay, he's got Lore of Darkness. 4 gold chevron Cold One Knights, 1 gold chevron, and you could just take the ROR, and I'm pretty sure it would be cheaper. I don't know. Way, if you're in the chat, why not just take the ROR Red Knights here? I think are they literally more expensive? I don't know. But, so he's going to immediately Blade Wind his own Bleak Swords here, and you can see that starts to tick up Murderous Prowess right off the bat, which is the whole idea here. And then, yeah, and then the highly veteranized Cold One Knights, Cold One Red Knights. Someone want to look that up for me real quick? How much do the ROR Dread Knights cost in relation to a fully chevroned regular unit of Dread Knights? I'm just curious. Yeah. And even then, like, I think it's cheap. If you're literally looking for something just to block, I think it's cheaper just actually, like, unironically take, like, 4 corpse cards. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, rather than 2. I mean, it does take more unit slots, I guess. But rather than taking a couple units of Crypt Horrors, you literally can just take some corpse cards. And they're cheaper. If you just want mass blocking. I don't know. Like, I kind of get that, but... yeah, you can see here, Illyrian Reavers kind of pulling up, the Reaver Archers. It definitely is sort of a little bit of a kitey high elf build here. Imric, the Fireborn, definitely a lot of cavalry play, Rangers. So, yeah, some Spearmen. It's going to try and get Murderous Prowess going as soon as possible, and I think that's the idea here, is to get the extra charge bonus on all of these heavy Dark Elf Cavalry, but we have to be careful. Illyrian Reavers, they don't overextend. The HP of Cold One Knights is just so low that they can get taken out by a wet blanket, basically, right? With a modicum of AP, but they are going to absolutely wreck those Illyrian Reavers. Just a tiny bit of overkill. Speaking of overkill, these Fireborn are going to get in here. It does look like they're going to get bombarded by just an actual Doombolt spell, which you don't see too often. But Doombolt is an actual spell you can take, and it does come in and do some pretty decent damage there. But the Cold One Knight sort of rush has broken through in the center. Dread Knights also come in as a second wave. Dragonhorn is active, though, for all the High Elves, so they get a power spike as well. There's the Murderous Prowess that Way was looking for. I guess we'll see. I mean, with that extra charge bonus, these Cold One Knights do get very, very scary. I mean, 55 charge plus massive armor-piercing, anti-large if applicable. Another Blade Wind going down here, just carving up those archers. I actually do like this, the sort of damage focus here of just Blade Wind and Doombolt, right? Not even worrying about the self-healing of Soul Stealer, which is good against Cav Blobs. There's no question about that. But, man, Imric just getting wrecked by Malice, too. He gets the melee defense debuff. Malice going also with the blood price, so he goes up to 720 weapon strength. And, wow, Imric just gets put in an absolute locker. Just straight up nerd stuffed. Anyway. Cold One Knights kind of chilling over on the side here. They could come in and try and finish off those archers. Murderous Prowess does still have a pretty decent amount of uptime. So during that uptime, Malice also up to 81 charge. He is just finishing Imric, literally, like actually probably going to finish him. And the Sorceress of Dark Magic, also on a Cold One, comes in and just starts to bully this Mage of Shadows, who does have Scroll of Leeching. Now countering with Starwood Staff and Book of Hoeth there. It looks like enfeebling foe on the Dread Knights. The Fireborn are easily going to finish them off, but Malice sweeping up and around. And there are still 2 more units of Cold One Dread Knights healthy enough to make a difference in this late game. So what was initially looking pretty bad, that huge kind of power respike of Murderous Prowess did end up actually doing what Wei wanted it to, which was to get him in this game. And Malice, of course, just absolutely carving Imric. Man, that has to be a rare, really good performance of Malice. He's generally considered to be one of the worst lords in the game, and he didn't even have to die. Didn't even have to go full Sarkhan, you know, self-immolation for him in order to accomplish that, which is awesome. Another Blade Wind there, just to kind of deal with some of those Rangers. Sorceress of Darkness trying to chase off the Mage of Shadow. She is quite a bit faster, but I think the Dark Sorceress will be able to catch her regardless. The Reavers trying to do their best. Heralds of the Wind, pretty decent melee stats. They've used up all their ammunition as well, so like against these very tattered Dread Knights, without Malice being involved, against the Cold One Knights and the Dread Knights, they maybe could do something, but they're going to hit army losses anyway. And that will be a victory, so wild one from Wei. Yeah, no life caster here is interesting. I agree. Imric's not that expensive, so I guess just looking more for the whatever from Shadows. I'm not really sure. There's not a lot of direct synergy with Shadows. I mean, not that it's a bad lore of magic by any means. It's definitely better to have a lore of magic, but I would think you'd at least want, yeah, healing or at least fire. Like, life or fire really is the way to go for Hyles most of the time, in my opinion. Metal can be pretty good, too, situationally, but in this build, I don't know. I don't think you would necessarily want metal. You know, hindsight 2020 against Wei's build, the final transmutation would have been hilarious, but as it is, the Cold Ones came in and did quite well. 154 kills for this unit in particular. I don't know. We'll have to check the Chevron levels, how expensive they are. Just out of curiosity after this, Malice also cleans up a ton of value. Imric just getting absolutely domed, hit in the face by a mace. Fireborn do recoup some of the value, though. Illyrian Reavers also do quite well, using up all their ammunition, then charging in the late game. Unfortunately, the army loss situation meant that they couldn't shine, but I guess, you know, Malice is just such a presence in the late game, right? But, yeah. Yeah, well, Imric is a little bit of a loser, to be honest, in this situation, but that's okay. Just out of curiosity, is there a reason he didn't just take the ROR? Because they're... Okay, so they're 550. Wei, what are you doing, Wei? Wei, you could have saved yourself 200 points. Not that you would have had much else to spend it on, but, I mean, these guys go up to Murderous Mastery, so they literally get it for longer. The whole, you know, synergy that you're going for, right? Wei, come on, Wei. Anyway. I mean, it worked. He won, so who am I to criticize? But I'm just saying, you could have maybe brought an extra Dark Rider or something. I don't know. Death is pretty good against Dark Elves, too. That's true. That's true. Death and Metal, actually, both. Searing Doom is really good against... Searing Doom is probably the best bombardment spell in the game. Right now, in my opinion. That might be a hot take. Maybe a cold take. Who knows? Anyway. This one is from... who is this from? Swordmasters. Oh, Lenormand. Okay, that's right. Sulfur Crested Cockatoo is Lenormand, that's right. Let's see what he can do. He's got some Swordmasters up against Warriors of Chaos. Just one tasteful Swordmaster here with Eltharion, Arcane Phoenix. The Lion, see, the Lion Chariot is like the actually good anti-infantry AP unit, whereas the Swordmaster is the meme. But there you go. You've got some Spearmen as well. Is this, what is this? I forget the name of this map. Lamaisenthal Abbey or something? It's an interesting one. A little bit asymmetric, but the deployment zones are better than they used to be, certainly. This player does have this kind of defensive cliff to set up on, though, so you don't have to worry about flanking attacks from this side. Not exactly balanced. That's just why you don't see it in tournaments much, but it is still on a quick battle. Anyway, some Feral Manticores, Archaon the Everchosen, some Horsemen, got some Warriors. It's just a Warriors of Chaos build. There's not really too much to say, so Norman's going to get aggressive here and immediately just concentrate a lot of shock units on this front line to break some Marauders. I mean, easily the Spearmen will be able to mop that up. The Manticores do countercharge back in here, cascading Fire Cloak on them. Archaon also comes in. The Arcane Phoenix, though, and the Spearmen investing in that combat, so quite a bit of escalation there. The Shadow Warriors now teeing off on the blob of Horsemen. Due to the blobage here, that'll be a lot of extra damage on those, you know, kind of packed up models, so that'll be quite nice. I mean, not that the Elves really need it. The accuracy is such that most of the shots will land anyway, but oh man, one Manticore just gets killed straight up by the Arcane Phoenix and Eltharion. The Arcane Phoenix definitely paying the iron price here, but just one Manticore getting outright slain immediately is pretty impressive. Eltharion must have popped his little weapon strength buff there or something, but another cascading Fire Cloak on Archaon, up to 600 weapon strength. He is just a menace to all mortal society, literally, so you got to pull out of that engagement there. A little bit of Apotheosis on the Arcane Phoenix. You don't want to necessarily always rely on the Rebirth because sometimes it won't go off, so I do understand that little bit of Apotheosis just to ensure the Arcane Phoenix hangs around for a little bit longer. But, yeah, again, the terrain definitely favoring the Horsemasters can't get up and flank over here. Like, they'd have to go on a huge journey to get up around the backside of this cliff. They definitely should, though, kind of fan out and maybe try and press the advantage up here, try and interrupt. Even have a gap to try and shoot up the center here, honestly, to try and get some of these Shadow Warriors shut down. But for the time being, just maintaining this big blob of horsemen, I guess here's a way to shut down the Shadow Warriors. Nice burning head from Archaon. Going to force them to move. Shadow Warriors, though, unlike many other skirmishers, of course, don't really care that much. They're loose formation. They can move. They can fire while moving. So no problem for them. Eltharion also coming in, countercharging that Manticore. But let's check in with the Swordmasters. They've mixed up with some Marauders. So they did successfully get into an infantry unit without getting killed, which is awesome. Chaos Chariots looking pretty menacing, though, and all of a sudden Eltharion gets things turned around. Archaon's definitely no slouch, obviously. As mentioned, Lord of the End Times, he comes in and just wrecks Eltharion. Eltharion, ooh, is he going to be able to get back up in the air? No. Oh, man, like one more hit from Archaon would finish him. He barely gets back up into the air, and the Arcane Phoenix is going to just immediately dive back in. The Swordmasters suddenly surrounded, and despite all the damage done to the blob of horsemen and horsemasters and so forth, I guess just all horsemen, and one horsemaster, okay. There's still enough of a presence here that they can come in and threaten, throw their javelins, just generally be a nuisance. They are pushing back the Shadow Warriors at this point. Shadow Warriors are going to have to do a little bit of kiting. In the background, though, this Lion Chariot just cleaning up the tattered Chaos Warriors and other infantry here. They're definitely not going to be able to get back in the fight, but in the effective way. A couple of drops here from these air single entities, though, trying to tear out off this Chaos Chariot real quick. Let's see. It might be a little bit risky if Archaon can get over here. The Swordmasters are able to effectively block him, though, which is pretty favorable. Eltharion and the Phoenix should be able to get back up in the air, should they so choose. It looks like the Phoenix is going to stay the course and try and finish off the Chariots, whereas Eltharion pulls up and around. That does mean Archaon's going to come in and try and finish the Phoenix, which he definitely should, so we'll keep it close. Cascading Fire Cloak plus Slayer of Kings is 952 weapon strength for Archaon. A couple of big old hits and just straight up kills the Phoenix without it getting a chance for a rebirth. So that's one issue, again, especially against just ridiculously high single entities like Archaon. There will be many others in Game 3, obviously, like we saw with, I mean, obviously balance is not final, but like we saw with Inkari that his sword just straight up doubles his weapon strength to like more than 1,000. So, yeah, that kind of shock, massive overkill damage can result in those rebirth effects just not going off, which is unfortunate, but Eltharion can still heal himself, so there's that. If he takes smart engagements against Archaon, he can finish him off, but he's going to have to cycle charge pretty aggressively and use his own units to support. Ooh, this is super risky trying to dive the chariots. I mean, I get wanting to protect your Shadow Warriors, but that is going to result in Archaon perhaps getting a couple of rear attacks here. Yeah, Eltharian's... Oh, he's got to get out of there. Oh, man. Eltharian's pretty lucky that he didn't take more damage in that engagement, but it does look like he's going to be able to get back up in the air, just barely avoiding those horsemen getting into contact with him. But these Swordmasters are somehow still alive. Javelins are going to use their ammunition thrown up in the air. They do enough AP that Eltharian is going to be uncomfortable, trying to sustain with some of that apotheosis, but the Shadow Warriors are still fighting also. A little bit of ammunition being used to go after the Marauder Horsemen here. Chariots also pulling back up and around. They've got a little bit of missile resistance, so in a pinch they can be used against the Marauder Horsemen, but it's looking pretty risky. Ooh, man, one of the Horsemasters, or Horsemen rather, barely gets terrified. I don't know how. It's not like Eltharian was even very close, but oh, and again, Archaon just absolutely bawling his eyes out, no doubt, that he can't catch Eltharian. Playing it very, very close, but able to get away once again, drop down on these Chaos Marauders, and try and terrify them away once again. Also, the Swordmasters actually forming up with the Chariot to just shatter a bunch of these units, prevent them from coming back to reinforce. So, very, very close as we move into this late game here. Yeah, honestly, I agree. If Eltharian was slightly cheaper, he would actually be pretty solid as a Lord choice, but... yeah, I agree, Tien. Yeah, he can be decent, certainly, and in matchups where, like, you know, flying shock single entities are good, so, like, Beastmen can be a little bit risky, but, like, yeah, against factions which he can effectively cycle charge from the air, and use his terror and shock damage to his advantage, right? Because ultimately, he's like any other Griffin Lord in that way, in that he really needs to come in, dish out some shock damage, and then pull back out and really cycle charge as much as he can. I mean, 80 charge bonus is definitely legit. So, yeah, you got to take advantage of that as much as you can. But we'll fast forward to this late game cleanup as the Swordmasters move in. Swordmasters with Eltharian cycle charging is easily going to spell the end for Archaon. So, yeah, he's going to do his best to try and clean up whatever else he can. But at the end of the day, it is going to be Archaon versus the world, and especially with the Swordmasters, they have enough attack, even though they're not anti-large, that they'll get some hits. The Chariot's also moving in. But Eltharian's being very careful that he doesn't come in and just get absolutely wrecked, which he can. Even with his little bit of Hand of Glory, giving him some extra melee attack, does manage to finish the job. Oh, yeah, Mistwalker's Barrage, if it was like a functional mechanic, would be good. Yeah. I agree, for sure. But the anti-infantry AP units did end up proving pretty successful because the Warriors of Chaos didn't really focus any resources on taking out the Swordmasters. They were able to just clean up shop, mopping a lot of the Chaos Warriors and Marauders, especially tattered ones that were trying to come back to, to the fight. Only one Chaos Warrior even comes close to paying for itself. Some of the Marauders do, I'm sure. But the Chariot also decent. Horsemen, despite... yeah, the blobbing, a few of them do pay for themselves. Not really great, to be honest, but it's okay. The Manticores, man, that one Manticore getting just eaten, literally, early on, was a big kind of power rebalance as well. This other Manticore showed what it can do, getting back 1,300 damage value against some high-value single entities. Only 3,000 damage dealt. That's crazy to me that you can get so much damage value on only 3,000 damage dealt, but that's High Elves for you. Yeah, Shadow Warriors also all probably pretty cost-effective. They're able to use up most of their ammunition and stay fighting. Phoenix gets canned, but does okay. I mean, little sad Pigeon had a hard time against the evil End Times Lord, who himself got 5,000 damage value. I was wondering, like, okay, so if nothing... I mean, a few things paid for itself. A little bit of a mixed bag for most of the army for Warriors of Chaos, but Archaon, man. Archaon is... nasty. I'm glad that he is. Honestly, he should be lorefully and in terms of the game mechanics and everything, but just wow. Just wow. That was intense. Hey, what's up, Way? way, I already showcased your MLG 9 million IQ replay, so you should go skip back and watch that. I did showcase your Dark Elf, MLG million IQ game already. This one right here. I did show that already, so you should go back and watch that real quick, and then come rejoin us live, because honestly, it was a lot of fun. But I have some questions. I definitely have some questions. Anyway, let's go on. Cool Umbrella and Coops, who I think both of you guys are in the chat, actually. BBB clanmates. We get to see you two face off now with a nice nautical-themed battle. I love that Coops decided to take the Corsair Lord, Mick Krakenface, right? Look here. Fellheart, because it just seems so appropriate for him to be fighting Vampire Coast. Anyway, for the coasts themselves, you've got Nocti Boy. Queen Bess, unironically, can be pretty decent against Dark Elves if it doesn't face too many bolt throwers, but there are definitely bolt throwers here. Moving to engage. We've got some pole arms. Scurvy dogs out the back. One thing about Coast play, in my opinion, and this is my own kind of paradigm about them, but the Scurvy dogs are such an important unit for you to get and use well, even though they're one of your cheaper units. But man, Queen Bess returning fire at the bolt throwers before they can get into range. I guess that's not really returning fire, but getting a solid hit there, killing about half the crew. Does not manage to even take a single piece offline, though, so that is unfortunate. Queen Bess now going to pay the ultimate price here. But let's see, we've got some Harpies moving up and around the flanks, Sad Swords, 3 bolt throwers, Master, and Lokir, of course, being on foot. Shadow Sorceress, ooh, another direct hit, and Noctilus comes forward with the long-range summon to actually shut down, momentarily at least, this Reaper bolt thrower, so doing everything he can to try and salvage Queen Bess. You can see the HP damage there is starting to add up, and already Queen Bess's unit model's been shut down. So, I mean, they were able to get some pretty good value back, just raining some death on those Reaper bolt thrower crews. Definitely not enough to pay for herself, but that's just the risk-reward of Queen Bess, right? Anyway, the Lamprey's Revenge, Rotting Promethean's going to try and sustain honestly, at this point, the Harpies don't really need to do a lot. They can probably just come back and start supporting this mainline fight here. But let's see. The zombies won't trade amazing with the Dark Elf Militia tier infantry in the front line, but Noctilus versus Lokir going duel of the 7 seas, I guess. Duel of the ocean fates over here. Yes. Lokir is going to do okay. Enfeebling Foe on Noctilus from the Shadow Sorceress. He himself still pretty good stats, though. At 60 melee defense, definitely can sustain. Already enough unit models have been killed on both sides to prop Murderous Prowess, so that's relatively early on in the battle, but the extra melee attack and leadership is definitely applicable in this matchup. The zombie infantry is starting to crumble here, though, which is going to be a big problem. A little bit of Penumbral Pendulum. Yeah, definitely going to finish those zombies. Might have been more friendly fire than anything, but that's fine. Unfortunately for the Gunnery Wights as well, they're going to face significant bolt thrower fire in the center, and suddenly Noctilus gets isolated. Oh no, this could be very, very bad for Nocti Boy. Dreaded Duel is popped on Lokir, which is essentially the same as using Enfeebling Foe on Nocti, right? Withering also used on him, though, to debuff his armor down to 65, so Lokir can make a little bit better contact. Does pull up some zombies to help screen him in that engagement, but the Master also pushing forward to try and take out old Gunny there. Well, things are definitely looking a little dicey for the coast, but Lamprey's Revenge, also completely healthy, can come in the late game and try and help out. Yeah, the bolt thrower presence is a lot, but the zombies are coming back as well. They're shutting down this bolt thrower. This bolt thrower has already been shattered, so if he can finish off the bolt throwers and at least salvage the one Gunnery Wight here, that would be pretty important. But the Master in combat, anti-large AP. Gunny's no pushover. He is going to fight back. He'll do some damage, but the Master, no question, is the superior single entity in that fight. And Noctilus himself stabilizing, not crumbling. In a risky situation still, though, if he can just somehow get away from Lokir. Man, not looking great, but Lamprey's Revenge now going to be the subject of the bolt thrower fire, which is definitely the right call. There's still some zombies hanging around here. We've still got a couple of relatively healthy-ish polearms that can come in and help fight in the late game, but it's just very, very thin for the coast, unfortunately. Ooh, some bombardment coming in. I guess going after those Dark Riders? Yeah, unfortunately didn't make the greatest contact in the world, but Noctilus is also getting close to his healing cap, which is really not great. Lokir, on the other hand, still has plenty of healing cap space left to give, but the Master, Lamprey's Revenge, do come in with just enough time. They're popping their shotguns, which is doing enough damage to the Master to kind of force him away. Salvaging Gunny is a huge get here, and the last Bolt Thrower is at least being threatened by some slow zombies, so... Oh, there's a Scab Scrath too from old Gunny. Try and even things out a little bit. Go after those Bleak Swords if you could break them. Get back and shut down these last Bolt Throwers. All 3 Bolt Throwers are back online though. Oh man, that's painful. That is very, very painful. Master, Spiteful Gunny, going to take a few pot shots at him. Try and finish off his leadership as well. Noctilus, a little bit of a misclick there. Healing himself, even though he's at his healing cap. You definitely want to pop that on Gunny, but yeah, in the heat of battle, obviously, it's definitely a mistake I've made myself in the past. But Noctilus does come in and just deliver a strike on this Sorceress, and then maybe try and get away. Is he faster? No, he is slower than Lokir, so it's not like he can actually get away. This is definitely going to be a problem. If Noctilus goes down here, that's going to spell a lot of leadership issues for Vampire Coast. So let's see, he is running. Lokir's chasing. And Gunny's not going to be able to help much. He's getting bogged down by the Cairns of Cain and other Harpies. Lamprey's Revenge are really kind of the last hope for the Vampire Coast here. And even they themselves are getting inundated by spears and Dark Riders and everything else. So we'll see. Gunny. Oh, Noctilus is coming. Noctilus is coming. If you can just hang on for a little bit there. Zombie Summon also coming in to try and bog down Lokir and interrupt him at the very least, even if only for a handful of seconds from getting at Noctilus. Now, though, 2v1, this might not be terrible. I think Noctilus is low enough that he'd probably just die anyway, though. So one more heal on Gunny before he goes down. He is going to now turn and die against Lokir. The Lamprey's Revenge do manage to hold on to their leadership, and Gunny all of a sudden is like, what, you want me to fight Lokir Fellheart in melee? Are you kidding me? Really? But believe it or not, if Lamprey's Revenge can get through, they can come back and maybe try and help out Gunny. They might be able to take him down, perhaps. We'll see. Dread Spears are getting low on leadership. Corsairs are still fighting. This extra summoned zombie here is starting to go down. Their summoning timer is just about done. I don't know if it'll be enough, but there are still some zombie halberds, I guess, too, so who knows? Maybe the Lamprey's Revenge will be able to hold out this late game, but Gunny's definitely not doing too hot. I mean, the anti-infantry of Lokir doesn't really apply too much, but just the fact that he's such a strong duelist, he is just going to have very few problems taking out Gunny here. Gunny is faster, though, is he? He's not. He's literally not even faster on the crab. He's only 45 speed, and Lokir's 46, so that's bad. And the Bolt Thrower also getting back online is bad. But Gunny does manage to get away, which is good, at least for Coast. Maybe Gunny can get one more pot shot here, take out the Sorceress, although he probably wants to focus any shots he can get on Lokir. We'll see. Oh no, shooting the Bolt Thrower instead. That's smart, actually. Try and preserve the Lamprey's Revenge. Maybe. Oop, yep. Sorceress does shatter. Bolt Thrower crew shatters. So he can now conserve his ammunition, try and go after Lokir. Does pop the dreaded duelist, but the crabs in the surround is going to be a little bit tough for him to take because he's going to get bodied by like 3 or 4 of them at the same time. The mass situation's not great for him. He does have 70 melee defense, but when they're getting attacks in the back and rear, which is the same thing, in the side and rear, I should say, it you know, bypasses a portion of that melee defense depending on the angle. Gunny comes in, grinding on some spears, trying to salvage these last few zombie halberds as they fight with the Dark Riders there. They actually are holding their leadership just fine, which is very surprising to me. And man, look at Lokir. All of a sudden, I look away for a few seconds and these crabs just go full on holiday dinner on him, just beating him with the claws, just, you know, seasoning him with butter and spices and just all around having a great time. Suddenly, Lokir's vulnerable. Gunny can take a few pot shots. All it's going to take is 1 or 2 more shots to finish off his health. The shotguns of the zombies even can contribute to that as well. The Lamprey's Revenge here are able to probably clutch out a victory. We'll see. I mean, maybe they'll just die to these spears in this late game fight because, of course, spears are spears. But Their leadership's not doing amazing. They are Dark Elves, which means they have pretty decent leadership, but they are Dark Elves, which means they're going to hit army losses, so there you go. Wow. Wow. What a game. That was super close. Bravo. Bravo. GG, well played to both Cool, Umbrella, and Koops there. The Withering was an experiment here. You know, I actually like the Withering plus, I don't know if, yeah, plus, Low here for like dueling, specifically for doing like Noctilus. I actually do like that. What's up, Torox? Ice Power also coming in here. Definitely an appropriate appropriate analysis. Yeah, historically, this was hard vampire counts or vampire pirates favored. Yeah, probably still vampire pirates favored. I would tend to agree with that. One unit you don't see a lot in many matchups is the Regiment of Renown. Necrofex, which, I mean, Shades can outrange him. Dark Shards, I think, barely outrange him. Maybe don't even outrange him. Like, it's one of the few matchups you can get away with using him because, like, your opponent's counterfire is about the same range as it. So if you deploy it kind of obliquely on one flank or something where they can't bring all their missiles to bear on it at the same time, you can sort of even out the odds a little bit. And especially if the Dark Elves try and go with any kind of a melee rush type build, the risk is obviously bolt throwers, right? For any kind of high value single entity you might take as coast. So sometimes you might see cannon spam or like deck gun spam in order to counteract that. But here, just Lamprey's Revenge tanking out in the late game, 3,400 damage value, 17,000 damage dealt. Wow, the Doggos had a little bit of a tough time. The Doggos are one thing that if there's not a really, like, clearly favorable engagement, or if you don't have Dance Macabre, I would say probably you just want to keep these guys in reserve, which I think they mostly were anyway. But Zombies also in the late game, they don't do a lot, but they are here to also be here. Gunny clutching it out, 2,000 damage value on the one Gunny, the peak, you know, Apex Zombie in the game, so love to see that. Low here, almost 4,000 damage value on him, having to take down Noctilus basically solo with a little bit of spell help, but still. The Spear is also really cost-effective here. I love the pick of the Corsairs also. I think they have a little bit of missile resistance, and the speed in particular means that, like, literally no zombies can hope to get away from them. Bolt throwers also obviously very solid here. Yeah, the Master getting a little bit overworked, although I will say it's not really something you would expect, right? Like, for me, the missile damage of the Rotting Prometheans is not something, the Rotting Promethean gunnery mobs is not something that I really consider too much, because in my mind, I'm like, they don't really deal that much missile damage, I kind of just discount it, whereas in this situation, it did show pretty significantly. It wasn't like that much damage, it was realistically maybe only like 1,200 damage, which is quite a bit, but, you know, over the course of several seconds, within a few volleys, but it was just enough to kind of swing that against the Master, where he had to then pull away. The Gunnery Wight was able to turn and shoot him, right, which is ultimately what ended up killing him, or finishing off his leadership at the very least. But yeah, it was a fun one, definitely well played to both. That was yeah. Okay, Way, I get it now. That's fine. Right, Wardemonsky? It's... Or War Demon Z, I don't know. It's... It's more than I always think that it will be, which is definitely a point in their favor. And they do continue to fire, I think, while fighting in melee, which is also just fantastic. But yeah, Queen Bess definitely had a tough time. Anyway, let me go ahead and look through here. Barely been streaming an hour, really. Is that right? Yeah, wow. Okay, we've got plenty of time then. That's awesome. I love this format. Can I just say, I love this format. Get to do a ton of battles and just have a grand old time with you guys. Okay, so let's move on to a different undead. I've got a few Tomb Kings games here, honestly. But we're going to start with this one. The Tomb King's Armor Debuffer. So there's one of the curses, right? It's Oh no, I see what he's going for here. Okay, so he's got the Blessed Legion of Demonetization, which does have Armor Sundering. He's also got Lore of Death, which will give you access to Soul Blight, which again is some more Armor Sundering here, right? Let's just consider also all the synergies possible. I believe, right, so the Tomb King himself, this is the Tomb King generic lord, he has this item here, which also gives negative 30 armor in an AoE. Only 22 seconds, 55-meter effect range is pretty long. 22 seconds, not a huge uptime. Oh, and it's actually castable at 100-meter range, not just around him in an AoE, which is nice. 127 cooldowns, pretty long, but it seems like a decent item. Also has Scorpion armor, so he gets a ward save if he gets too low. Tomb Strike for Terror. The Curse, recently I recorded a video where this almost won a game, but it did not, in fact. Yeah, then we saw the Soul Blight already, and then we also have this here, Blade of Setep, which is usable only on a single target, but does give an additional minus 30 armor against the Empire. They are definitely a mixed armor faction. You can expect some heavy armor units against them, but with all these different armor sundering synergies, you don't really need too much AP, and like even the Hekara Horsemen should be able to trade well into Empire Knights with all of that armor sundering, certainly. The Empire Knights, honestly, really it's not that great of stats. Here, though, we have Reiksguard instead, which have a little bit better stats, definitely more impactful charge, better weapon strength, a little bit better sustained stats as well. Karl Franz up in the air, some healing, we've got silver bullets, some more handguns, swordsmen up front, spears on the flanks, spear in the back as well. So, let's see how the armor crumbles. Empire General. Yeah. Empire General, he's decent as sort of a cheap Franz alternative, right? If you want to go a little bit wider than what Franz allows you to, then he is a way you can do that. Franz, I would say, is just generally better, but generally Empire is definitely a decent pick. He can punch way above his weight class, definitely, if he gets a good engagement, but it's also not super expensive if you lose him. Anyway, Empire Knight's going to get a charge on these Hekara Horsemen over here. This is really not great for them, or the Reiksguard even. That fat 62 charge with 40 weapon strength. It's literally 100 damage on the charge, so they're going to get punished for that pretty significantly. But the archers counter-firing the Empire handguns is nice. In the center, though, the Empire Knights come in. I've said that several times. The Reiksguard come in. They're just going to crump some of these skeletons in the front line, but the Tomb Guard with Halberds responding. Tomb Guard with Halberds, only AP here. Definitely, it's good to have some AP so you're not completely relying on all that armor sundering synergy. We'll see. Over here on the side, Hekara Horsemen do end up taking a pretty significant amount of damage, but then the single entities here, Amulet of Pasta, yes. Blade of Setep and Soul Blight down to 30 armor. Reiksguard base 120. A little bit of overkill perhaps, but the Hekara Horsemen can probably finish them off quite easily now, not to mention the single entities also fighting in that engagement. But more Reiksguard threatening in the center, getting a brutal charge into some of those Hekara warriors, just immediately overrunning into the skeleton archers. Franz also coming in to threaten the Skelly Bow boys. But more Reiksguard sweeping up and around the flank here. Great use of the Carrion. A little bit of a sleep at the wheel by the Empire player. Those spearmen not responding quite in time. But he does have quite a bit of cavalry micro to try and get through. But the Silver Bullets actually not complete pushovers due to their ROR status. Anyway, looks like we're also going to have some armor... Or sorry, Ushabti gets pulled up here as a summon. Apologies, just got a text message there. With the Tomb Guard with Halberds fighting on top, that is going to provide some mass blocking. Even as the Reiksguard try to pull away, some of their models will get caught up there and dragged down. And most of the armor sundering synergies are still online. These managed to protect the Blessed Legion, even if a few of the other skeleton archers have been effectively shut down. Reiksguard also not really able to find a super significant home, but here comes the Soul Blight. Look at that on Karl, down to 70 armor. 90 armor again on the Reiksguard. The Blessed Legion haven't been able to get any volleys on them to get some additional armor sundering, but let's look here. Karl taking some hits from the Tomb King. The Tomb King himself, 450 non-AP primary weapon strength, so the armor sundering does benefit him individually as well, right? Whereas the Tomb Prince actually does have anti-large AP, but another Skeleton Archer going to get collapsed here. Tomb King's trying to defend their missile position as best they can. Empire handguns have been forced away for the most part as well. Nekara Horsemen coming back from having chased off those Empire Knights to shut down the handgunners. This is one benefit too, like these crumbling Nehekara warriors. I mean, this is just undead versus mortals in a nutshell, right? The crumbling Nehekara warriors can chase off the handgunners. Just think about that for a minute. I love undead. Yeah. We do still have these Nekara Horsemen, though. They're going to try and avoid Carl. Nekara Warriors getting in there. 33 weapon strength. Decent attack. 32 attack. Should be able to get some consistent hits on the non-shielded Spearmen there. The Reiksguard, though, checking in on a heavy cavalry situation. We've still got 3 fairly healthy units of Reiksguard plus Carl, so a lot of armor sundering still left to do. But now Carl Horseman shattering some units there. Coming in trying to shatter some other units over here. Yeah, Silver Bullet's gone. These Swordsmen are gone. Tomb Guard with halberds fighting Spearmen with shields, which is not super efficient, but nice little rear charge from the Nekara Horsemen there will help even that fight out, help get those Tomb Guard loose. They definitely want to be fighting in this fight right here. Another Soul Blight's going to go off. The miscast damage does impact the Lich Priest pretty significantly. Tomb Strike also used for the Tomb King, trying to provide a little bit of terror here. We've also got, the Curse of Jaff and the Amulet of Fasta. So all of the armor sundering here. You can see Carl's down to 0 armor. Blade of Satep also on him. And everyone's enraged except for Carl somehow because of that Curse of Jaff. Also down on their melee attack, Curse of Kusar, which is also an effect that the Lich Priest has if he goes down below 50% HP, right? That's his curse. So just a huge 0 armor timing push. Absolutely wrecks all of these Reiksguard, and Carl also taking a huge amount of damage during that uptime, quickly approaching his healing cap. Wow, that timing right there, just absolute stacking. I mean, you could have got a steam tank to 0 armor, to be honest, with all of that armor sundering stacking right there. That was ridiculous. Okay, so it worked. He made it work. He actually did get everything literally at the same time onto one unit, pretty much so. Yeah. Yeah, wow. The Tomb King's gonna throw in the towel, or the Empire, rather, gonna throw in the towel after that. What a pullback. I love that synergy, man. It is a lot of all-in just to make one thing work, and it almost didn't actually work, but he did get the engagement that he needed to in that big blob, and Carl getting canned right there. Yeah, the Tomb Guard with halberds also doing a great job supporting, protecting the Blessed Legion of Goth, who themselves got 1,600 damage value. Yeah, 900 damage value on those other Skeleton Archers. Just fantastic. Nekara Horsemen, one that didn't face a bad engagement, came back and were able to get some really good damage in. Carrion also just kind of interrupting. That's fine. Nekara Warriors is cost-effective against Empire State troops. As long as they don't have to fight Flagellants, they'll do just fine. Definitely a lack of Flagellants from Phoenix Wing here. I think, honestly, as much as I love Reiksguard, you probably just trade 1 Reiksguard down for, like, some Flagellants. Like, take 2 units of Flagellants just about? Maybe try and retool some of this other cost situation to, yeah, just take maybe, like, the Sigmar Sun Swordsman instead. I don't know. You guys let me know. But, yeah, wagons are good against Lizardmen. Yes. Yes. Tactical Lich has a channel for those interested. Oh, I didn't even realize. I'm just, like, so disconnected sometimes, it seems like. But definitely go check him out on YouTube, I'm guessing, Coops. If you want to pop a link in the Discord. Yes. Yes. Let me see here. We need some lizards, so I'm going to grab this lizard replay from its current year. Against skirmish cav-wise, honestly, Outriders are the way to go, I think. Outriders plus wagons can actually be a potent combination if you can protect everything against Lizardmen. The thing is, from my experience at least, playing Empire into Lizardmen, Lizard cavalry is the thing that you have to worry most about, because it's fast enough to catch and kill war wagons. Like, it will kill your own heavy cavalry, right? So you really have to figure out ways to try and even out the cavalry fight. Cold One Riders are just so cost-effective against Empire cavalry. And, yeah, they are threatening to war wagons. They're an issue that you have to deal with. So if you can deal with them, and you can keep your missiles protected, they will win you that matchup, absolutely. But... right, Empire build without Sigmar Sons isn't an Empire build. I agree. Yeah, YouTube's algorithm is terrible about recommending Total War content for whatever silly reason. But anyway, let's see. So that was a good Tomb King one. Let's go on to... what have we not seen today? Oh, yeah. How about High Elves playing? Or Slade playing High Elves, rather? Or should we do a Slade playing Coast? I thought I just downloaded this... hang on. Yeah, Cold One... even the regular 850 Cold One Riders are good enough to then, like, one-to-one cost, they'll beat Empire Knights just straight up, which is really not great for Empire Knights, right? So... speaking of lizards, Tomb Kings versus lizards here. We're going to have some more bony boys. Might have a few Tomb Kings replaced today, just because I'm feeling a little nostalgic for the old dusty Tomb Kings. I love the chariots in general. Even though Saurus are some of the heaviest mass infantry in the game, Saurus and Temple Guard, you still do need the chariots for anti-infantry. I feel Chosen of the Gods are pretty decent. We've also got some Tomb Guard with halberds, etc. on the kitten. Some skeleton horse archers up front. Feral Carnosaur, interesting choice, and a Fire Slan. Okay, so double Feral Carnosaur and a Fire Slan. Not really a lot of direct synergy here, but just looking to burn it out, I guess. Maybe some Flaming Sword of Ruins. Doesn't even have Flaming Sword of Ruins. Very odd. Very, very odd. Burning Head and Fireball, which is two good spells, don't get me wrong, but I guess just slinging fireballs, etc. is going to be the name of the game. Probably should start doing that immediately. But the Chosen of the Gods, Ushabti Great Bows teeing off on the Feral Carnosaurs. That is going to be obviously a great target for them to go after. Cetra is going to have to be careful. Does not want to take face engagements against the Feral Carnosaurs, even though they don't have that much HP. He has a solid almost 2,000 HP more than them. One's crazy. Yes. Yeah, classic 4 chariots versus Lizardmen. I mean, the chariots are good. You just have to be very careful about charging Saurus, especially because Saurus have so much mass. But here, the Feral Carnosaur does take a ton of damage from the Ushabti Great Bows. They're able to rout it immediately, so that's fantastic. But the Saurus wave is going to be pretty dangerous to just this mass of skeletons here. They definitely have to use these chariots and other units to try and even things out. A little bit of Burning Head to roast out the Tomb Guard with halberds there. Destroys my frame rate. Absolutely murderizing it. That's fine. Cetra comes in, gets a little bit of a terror route here. He's going after this other Feral Carnosaur shield of the old ones. Pop for the Lizardmen, though, as the Fire Slan moves into the center. He's got this other Feral Carnosaur regrouped. Court of Sotek also moving in. The Skeleton Horse Archers do get a really nice flank positioning here. Did you see the Empire Lizardmen replay I sent in? I did not, the Emperor. I'll have to check. Maybe I did, actually. I'll have to double check. I'll get on it, though. Thank you. I appreciate that. Happy holidays to you as well. Ever generous, as always. A little bit of Fireball here, and Banishment just wrecking these Tomb Guards in the back line. Was that actually enough? No, it didn't actually finish a model of those Ushabti Great Bows, but anyway. Chariots are taking some significant damage over on this flank. They've been taken out, but there are still 2 full health chariots ready to start cleaning up infantry over on this other flank here. Likewise, the Skeleton Horse Archers have been able to just sit and shoot this entire time, using up all of their ammunition, which is obviously quite efficient. So, etc. Trying to get away. These chariots might have to just sacrifice themselves to screen, as he is in a not the best engagement. He's going to turn around and face the Carnosaur, though, which is the right call. Can't really get away from it anyway, especially with the poison due to the Court of Sotek. Another brutal Burning Head going after the Tomb Guard with halberds there. Again, the chariots coming in to screen. They're trying to block the Carnosaur, as Cetra does pull away there. Is able to get away. The Skeleton Horseman Archer shooting Court of Sotek is probably honestly the best target possible for them to be shooting at. In general, the Red Crests are going to be good targets. Red Crests are really scary for Ushabti Greatbows because of the poison and speed. If they catch the Chosen of the Gods will not be able to get away. So definitely smart trying to keep them as far away as possible. Screening with the Horseman Archers since they've used up most of their ammunition. They've got a lot of their value that way. Can be more aggressive. And a nice Chariot rear charge comes in with Cetra to proc a huge terror route on a bunch of these Skinks and Saurus in the center. He's able to significantly even things out. So very, very good stuff. This is quite quality Tomb King play, I have to say. Lizardman, odd Lizardman build, but he's making it work. And Cetra's definitely in danger at this point. Incantation protection for that physical resistance as the Carnosaur comes in from the side. Nice little charge there, but should be able to screen out again with the Chariots. The Chosen of the Gods also still safe to a degree. Trying to finish off that Feral Carnosaur's leadership. Quite a few Lizardman units are starting to shatter, so that's good. But Tomb King's also getting pretty low. Tomb Guard themselves, despite getting roasted, the two Tomb Guard with halberds are continuing to grind. Let's see if they can take down that Feral Carnosaur. The Court of Sotek have almost been finished off at this point as well. The Chariots don't have too many more infantry targets to go after. These two sort of red crests, right? And this one Saurus over here is still relatively healthy. Oh no, that Feral Carnosaur did come back from route, which is unfortunate. The Ushabti Greatbows maneuvering away, just trying to play for a little bit of extra space as they also move away from the Saurus. Will the volleys be enough to shatter that Feral Carnosaur? It does not look like it. They do make a little bit of contact there, but not much. The rest of the army here, these Skeleton Horse Archers, doing their best to clean up any rounding units or tattered units in the case of the Court of Sotek there. But the Tomb Guard are pretty much gone at this point. So Cetra trying to make a stand with his Chariots. Ooh, yes, the dreaded anti-large Chariots. This will be it, right? Incantation of Cursed Blades. Not actually giving anti-large, but this is the unit that's going after the Saurus anyway. The Ushabti Greatbows. Ooh, that's nice. This other Feral Carnosaur does shatter. This unit of Ushabti Greatbows can now turn and shoot at this Feral Carnosaur. As the Chariots, Chariots go in. A little bit of a fireball there at Cetra. How did that miss? How did you miss? Wow, the Slon's got to get his eyes checked. Are you sure that's not a high Slon? Definitely a blazing Slon, that's for sure. Anyway. Cool. Well, looks like the Chariots are continuing to barge in, and at this point, with most of the infantry being isolated, Chosen of the Gods doing some horrendous friendly fire, but almost used up all their ammunition as well. But I would think, I mean, maybe, if Cetra can finish off the Carnosaur, obviously the Slon's no match for him, but the Carnosaur is by far the most threatening thing at this particular point. Banishment going to be used, though, to finish off the last of the Tomb Guard, the Skeleton Horseman Archers as well. A Slon throws another fireball at Cetra. Will he be able to dodge? Nope, does hit Cetra, like right in the howdah, too. That was a good shot. Okay, maybe not such a high Slon. It is you, current year. Cetra does manage to shatter those, or at very least rout. But man, the Chariots, the dread anti-large Chariots, yes, in the late game, Blood Statuette of Spite used on them just to try and deal whatever damage they can. They're going to come in and finish off these red crests, probably turn around, try and finish off those Saurus warriors. But let's see. Ushabti Greatbows moving in for the final combat. With everything together, Cetra's got to try and finish off this Carnosaur if he can. Ooh, he's going to take a hit from the Carnosaur right there, though. Will it be enough to force him into crumbling? It doesn't look like that's the case. Meanwhile, the Ushabti Greatbows and the Chariots are dealing some damage to the Slon here. The other Chariots finish off that last Saurus. Ooh, that fireball like went in between the legs of the War Sphinx. That is most unfortunate. Shield of the Old Ones gets popped, but I think with Cetra getting the separation here, a hit from the Slon, though, almost finishes off Cetra. Cetra goes down to the Carnosaur. Wow! Will this Chariots be able to actually finish it off? The Chosen of the Gods, Ushabti Greatbows, also fighting here. He's going to try and get a last burning head to finish off the leadership, but little does he know, undead units can win even while they're crumbling. Yes, even if they're technically every single unit on the undead is broken, they can still win, which is just amazing. So, crumbling victory. Yes, current year wins via crumbling. The Ushabti Greatbows honestly were able to hold. I mean, yeah, any other faction they probably would have broken there at the end. But that's just how it goes for Tomb Kings. They pay a price in so many other aspects of their roster, having just, you know, mostly terrible infantry and whatever else. But great win there. Cetra really got hammered ultimately, took a lot of damage, but was able to tank out until the very, very end. The Chariot's definitely bright spot, 205 kills, 101 kills, some great damage value there. Likewise, the Skeleton Horseman Archer is able to just sit and shoot the whole time. That was quality gameplay. I mean, they just using a lot of that ammunition, especially on the Red Crest earlier on, and then using them to kind of screen and support in that late game, man. Yeah, the Chosen Gods, though, definitely clutched out that game. For sure, I would say. The Carnosaurs sort of show the duality. Carnosaurs can be very good if they get good engagements, but they're a little bit tricky to use. Not a lot of HP for a monster of that class. To be honest, even though their weapon strength is pretty good, speed's pretty good, a lot of other benefits, but the HP is pretty low. Fire Slan, though, gets a lot more value than what I was expecting. I was thinking he would just die immediately, but I guess not. Anyway, I've got to make a real quick phone call, guys, so we're going to go on break for just a moment. Let's do this here. And yes. Bear with me just one moment. I'll be right back. Okay, I am returned. Yes. Sure, Ice Power, if you want to send one over, I think I have time for maybe like 2 or 3 more replays. I was gonna get this one from the Emperor here. Oh yeah, this one here, super close. LZ, I see. We're going to do this one. We'll get one from Slade, and then if you want to send one in, Ice Power, by all means, feel free. And then we'll probably end on that high note. But some more Empire here. Let's go ahead and get this. Excellent. All right, all right. Anticity's Ladder is good if you want more of a tournament-style format. Like, if you want to get practice in, like, picks and bans and some of the other sort of meta skills you'll need in tournaments, that's a really good way to do it. Because I think it's a best of 3, right, in Anticity's Ladder. So you do get a little bit of practice on the pick and bans system, and it's, again, more of like a tournament-style format where you do a series of games with one person. So I would say as like a tournament practice, I think that, again, this is just my own perception of it, but that's what I would say is probably the best use case for Anticity's Ladder, is for more kind of tournament-style games. Anyway, yes, so wild build coming in. We've got, what is it, Balthazar? General of the Empire on a Pegasus with an Empire Captain. Amber Wizard on the ground here with Manticore summons. We've got some great swords, Empire Knights, Flagellants up front, some swordsmen, plenty of Outriders as well, some Empire Knights, Halberdiers. Ooh, this little bit of rock. These two rocks are the Legends of Oakenhammer. I ought to really write a story about them, of how many battles they've affected, but the Lizardmen kind of using them to screen some of the Empire forces here, getting these Chameleon Skinks to concentrate fire. None of these units are really super high value for them to shoot at. Honestly, the Chameleon Skinks should come all the way out to this opposite flank and just mirror the Outriders, probably. But let's see. The Empire Knights are going to try and collapse this one unit here if they can get a hold of them. It does look like they're going to land home the charge, which will be quite nice. Got Lord Croak here, Gorok, so a very appropriate build. Star Chamber Guardians. This is sort of the tabletop style deployment of the Slaawn on top of the Temple Guard box. But anyway, Manticore's going to dive down back on these Temple Guards in the backline just to kind of keep them interrupted. Deliverance of Pizza. Swing and a miss there on those Outriders. That is a bit of Winds of Magic to have burned, but that's fine. He still has plenty more. And all he needs to do is hit on a couple of them. The Great Swords are going to be good targets once they get into combat, but Stalkers in a very sneaky position. Vanguard deployed up and behind. He's got to be careful not to get the Amber Wizard blasted. The Outrider's also going to take some damage on that, though, which is not ideal, but still. The Empire Knights ended up paying a pretty hefty price over on this flank, trying to punish those Chameleon Skinks. They did get some damage in there, but like this blob right now is looking real juicy for some pizza deliveries. Yeah, I was going to say, we've got Great Swords and Halberdiers stacked on top of each other here, and a nice blob, some swordsmen as pepperonis. Oof. Oh, big oof on that. Oof, that's nasty. That's nasty. Let's check the damage value on Lord Croak after that. One, like, solid pizza delivery. Yeah, 750 value from basically one spell. That's great. Anyway, the Empire does have a pretty good presence over on this flank, though. I mean, it can afford to lose some, certainly. The Outriders are able to concentrate some fire on the Rev Crystal, try and shut it down, get rid of the healing as quick as possible. General of the Empire and the Captain do come down to try and bail out the Amber Wizard from the Stalkers. The Stalkers really should pull back and throw their precursors, their little blowpipe grenades at the Amber Wizard to try and burst him down. Ooh, another pizza delivery here. Not quite as solid a contact. Does get a pretty good chunk out of those swordsmen, but that's fine. Again, relatively low value units. Not so much of an issue, but these Chameleon Skinks are definitely going to be a problem as a lot of the Empire cavalry starts to take some damage, but still, a couple of healthy Empire Knights here that can charge through, try and clean up some of the skirmish cavalry. Like this Empire Knight could probably turn around, try and get back on this one. You could literally go just 1, 2, 3 here, while the Captain and the General go after Mr. Pizza Delivery, who the extra shield of the old ones. I forget what the actual specific name of it is. I guess we could check here as we zoom in on Croak getting charged. What is it? The Supreme Shield of the Old Ones. That's right. I actually like the effect of that one a little bit better than the regular Shield of the Old Ones. Another Manticore summon going to be pulled up here, I guess, as Croak has been caught by the flying single entities of the Empire, the extra Manticore being thrown in there. Star Chamber Guardians do manage to screen them out. But, yeah, the Empire Knights, again, not fully committing into going after the Chameleon Skinks. I understand that. They want to come back and support the center engagement to try and win, since the Chameleon Skinks are really not contributing a ton right now. A lot of regrouped Skink units just kind of sitting around. which is definitely a mistake. It's one of those things that takes some practice, but especially when you're playing factions which have some low leadership units. Like Skink's definitely not the greatest leadership in the world. You do have to be somewhat on top of them, but it does look like he finally gets them back up and around into the fight. Not before the Empire Knights are able to come back and probably shatter a few of those units there. A nice concave of fire, too, from these Outriders. The Stalkers are going to try and come back. They do finish off one unit pretty much, but the Outriders still plenty of firepower to finish off those Star Chamber Guardians. Now we'll try and bail out the Captain and the General. Kind of like those two on a Pegasus squad together. You know, Boris is also really good on the Pegasus, believe it or not. I think he has like Elven Duelist stats on the Pegasus, straight up. It's like 60 attack, 70 defense, something crazy like that. Which for a Flying Lord is just nuts. Not to mention, you know, he has his passive kind of aura buffs and debuffs. I guess purely debuffs, right? Anyway. There's F to pay respects to Greatswords. Yeah, the pizza delivery on the Greatswords has been brutal, but this unit still is 143 kills. Managed to come in and clean up some really nice damage on the Temple Guards there. The Outriders pulling back and away, kind of coming into screen, and then getting in a position to start shooting again, which is a good call. Stalkers are a problem, though, for sure. Here comes Captain and General. Once again, going after Croak. Supreme Shield of the old ones get a little bit of damage resistance. Gorok's also going to be pretty dangerous in the late game. Like, even these two cycle charging Gorok is going to be tough. He is just a tough cookie, to say the absolute least. Is it important to bring Chameleon Stalkers in any matchups? I like them in a lot of matchups, to be honest. A lot of the missile-focused matchups where, like, you're going to get... your opponent's going to try and shoot you a lot. They're great for, like, getting onto... they can, like, one-shot an artillery crew with their precursor weapons because they have Stalk and Vanguard, right? And they can get in there, and just the burst damage of the precursors can one-shot artillery. It can do a great job against... yeah, any kind of low armor, high value targets, skirmish cavalry, even infantry skirmishers. So basically, for in my view at least, I use them to counter missile units, but really any low armor unit that can take a lot of burst damage quickly, will take a lot of burst damage quickly from them. But Croak trying to form a little bit of a pocket here with Gorok as the Outriders continue to fire in a nice concave. The Empire Cavalry getting a nice surround in here, allowing the Captain and the General to get in here, shield the Aeons, putting that Bastildon up to 200 armor, so literally any non-armor piercing damage is being fully reduced to 0, because 200 is the max, where it's, you know, literally you can't go any higher. Well, you can technically, I think, but it doesn't do anything. Anyway, but it didn't stop the Bastildon from getting routed. I mean, obviously the Outriders still do plenty of armor piercing damage, so... Croak also, though, is a terror, right? No, the terror from the Bastildon, I guess, resulting in the Empire Knights getting routed off there. Those Chameleons are a problem. Let's see. Single entity combat going 3v1 against Gorok. This poor Amber Wizard's been getting mauled. The Amber Wizard, though, does have 50 melee attack and 300 weapon strength. So, I mean, he's going to get hits on Gorok, certainly. Gorok does get the Rev Crystal late game healing. That is huge. That is definitely huge, the fact that the Rev Crystal hasn't been shattered at this point. But some more Halberds and some more Great Swords coming in clutch. One more Shield of the Old Ones for the damage resistance. And it's just, man, Gorok will not die. Just 100% refusing to die here. That does open up the Outriders to come in and shatter what's left of the Temple Guard and the Skinks here, though. They can come in and try and rear charge. The Rev Crystal shatters, so there's no more healing for the Lizardmen. One more pizza delivery, though. Oh, man, this is going to be nasty. Perhaps a lot of units managed to pull out of that area of effect, but an unlucky few will get detonated by that. And that is enough, again, to lead to a terror rout of the Great Swords. The Empire Knights try and come through and finish the Chameleons, but the Chameleons honestly might win it at this point for Lizardmen. I guess there's only one unit left with ammunition, though. Oh, it's going to be close. It is going to be close. If they can finish off Gorok, nice hit for there. Runefang puts him up to 645 weapon strength, 80 charge on the Pegasus. Gorok takes a couple of big hits. The Rock of its physical resistance doesn't help at all because the Runefang also does... No, it doesn't give magic damage. I thought for sure the Runefang gave magic damage. That seems like an oversight. Anyway, the greatswords, again, if they can get into contact with Gorok, that anti-infantry AP will end up mattering. But the Chameleons are coming in for a late-game desperate support here. Apply a little bit of extra poison in melee. They do rout off the Outriders. General of the Empire also in extreme danger right now. Like one hit from Gorok. Gorok up to 160 armor, so he's going to be taking very little damage from the General or from the Empire Captain. Oh no, Croak goes down though. His spirit is going to rise into the sky as the Empire Captain and the General try and finish off Gorok. Ooh, this Overwatch fire from the Skinks, though, is definitely hurting. They are now out of ammunition. Will that result in army losses? A few hits on Gorok from the Captain and from the General, and the Empire manages to take home the win there. Wow. Wow, yeah, had no idea how to deal with Gorok. Well, you did it, which is to isolate him and then cycle charge him to death, basically. Is how you would do it, and you did, so good job. Yes. I would think that the General would get magic attacks from the Rune Fang, but anyway. 158 kills, 1,248, 11,000 damage dealt on these great swords. The other ones got blown up. Still managed to get 500 value in the meantime, though. Same thing, like one of the halberds. Oh, actually, both the halberds are fairly cost-effective. To be honest, the Outriders definitely carried some pretty hefty value. One of them got shut down hard by the Chameleon Stalkers, and that's one use case for them. Like, again, low HP units that are... Low HP missile units, really, are the name of the game for these guys. The artillery crews, skirmish cavalry, stuff like that. Double guards are both able to pay out some huge value against this Empire cavalry as well. Although, one Empire Knight still, 173 kills, almost pays back its damage value. Just excellent. Rev Crystal getting some okay healing. Not quite enough at the end of the day. Chameleon Skinks, again, they get some really nice damage. Lord Croak, despite the solid pizza deliveries, I almost would have expected a little bit more damage value on him. But still pretty solid. Korok also fighting single entities. Doesn't quite carry it, but gets pretty close to carrying it there at the end. So there you go. Very close battle, honestly. Excellent one from the Emperor. Big thanks for sending that one in. I enjoyed that. Pizza was delivered to the one unit of greatswords. Yes, this one, definitely. I mean, still 500 damage value somehow, but yes. They got giant pizza delivery directly on their head. Okay, so next, we're going to go with... We've already seen a little bit of Hiles, a little bit of Coast today. But let's see against the Greenskins. Yes, against Gromskins, because you can't meme against Greenskins, right? You definitely can't take 5 golden-ranked Swordmasters and Tyrion against Greenskins that are using Grom the Paunch, Stone Trolls, and a River Troll Hag, right? Like an actually somewhat sensible build. I will say the build's a tiny bit small, like you're lacking in goblins somewhat. I would probably just cut one biggin or maybe one Airboy and one biggin and take like maybe 3-4 units of extra goblin chaff. And no skirmish cavalry as well, which is a little bit odd, but there you go. The Squig Hoppers, I mean, they're anti-infantry AP also, but the thing about Golden Rank Swordmasters is that they have obscene stats. They have 59 attack and 57 defense with martial prowess active, and 99 leadership. Some of that is from other effects currently nearby, but also got Spirit Leech and Purple Sun, so... yes. For those of you guys who don't know who Slade X is, Slade is a longtime veteran of the community and a legendary memer. Like, a truly legendary memer. Some of my favorite meme games of all time are from Slade X. So, this is, you know, par for the course for him. It's to be expected. But so far, the Catapult is doing a pretty bad job of making contact. This one unit of Reavers did come in on the Vanguard and at the very least interrupt them momentarily. Not to mention, they are also Golden Vanguard. Man, 42 defense on a unit of light cavalry. That's ridiculous. That's just ridiculous. But anyway, the River Troll Hag also is getting a little risky with it. Not sure exactly what her intention is, but Tyrion's going to come in and very quickly teach her the error of her ways. A little bit of a mistake there, and a Spirit Leech also on Grom. Puts a Spirit Leech on the Swordmasters. I mean, I guess what else can you do, right? when faced with such reckless hate. The Orc Arrow Boys, if they can concentrate some missile fire on the Swordmasters, will be pretty painful, but this, I mean, this is, normally an infantry engagement is very one-sided in Greenskin's favor, but this is not going to be good. Just synchronized decapitations, removal of arms, legs, other limbs. I mean, just, I don't think the Swordmasters have probably even lost a model yet. Maybe a little bit from the bow fire, I guess, but honestly, not much. Grom does come through the center and helps maraud this other unit a little bit, though. Purple Sun in the back line, helping to wreck some of those Orc Arrow Boys, but man, those goblins and the biggins even just got evaporated, just straight up vaporized by the Swordmasters in the front line. Even in this other combat where the Stone Trolls come in, I mean, Stone Trolls, once their charge bonus wears off, they're only 36-32 on attack and defense. Like, it's really not enough, especially with 81 melee defense on stand your ground on those Swordmasters. Grom's coming in, doing his best to try and charge. The anti-infantry AP of the Squig Hoppers also comes in, but again, once their charge bonus wears off, their real sustained combat stats are really just not very good, and they will end up just losing straight up to the Swordmasters in melee. Man, same thing over here, like, oh yeah, anti-infantry AP. Nope, 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 nope. Turns out 57 melee attack is enough to just kill 18 melee defense. Who would have thought? All gold chevron squig armies. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty standard fare. I'm pretty stoked for Slade to play Ogre Kingdoms, I must say. Like, I think if you were to ask Slade, and unfortunately he is UK time, so I expect he's probably fast asleep by now. But Slade, if you end up watching this after the fact, let me know. Are you most excited for, I mean, I just assume, which is maybe quite an assumption to make about you as a person, but I would guess that you're most excited for Ogres, like that's your #1 faction looking forward to in Game 3. But man, Tyrion's on foot. I didn't even realize. I thought he was on his horse. But that makes sense why he's got his little fancy attack lightsaber animations. Just slice him in the nuts. Yes. Slice those stony nuts. He does manage to kill a model there, and man, those Stone Trolls, yeah, the immunopsychology, the extra everything from the WA isn't really helping too much. It turns out the Swordmasters just kind of came in and killed everything in melee. So there's that. Reaver's also doing a great job chasing off these Arrow Boys, not allowing them to sit and shoot. The Swordmaster's definitely taken some severe damage, but let's see. Slade's at a little bit of a danger of getting cycle charged in this late game, as he does have a infantry-only force, and like, you know, the River Troll Hag, Grom, regular trolls are all fast enough to actually cycle charge him, but let's see. We'll fast forward a little bit as the Reavers maneuver around. They're going to try and do whatever they can to chase routing units, kind of tangle, but let's see. Balance power's back towards even as the Swordmasters start to get a little bit spread out and strung out, although even a handful of them still fighting here. Yeah, this unit gets surrounded by Stone Trolls. They're getting shot in the back by Arrow Boys, but even still fighting back hard. Probably going to vanquish those Night Goblin Squig Hoppers, but we'll see. We shall see. At this point, a lot of it comes down to Tyrion, right? If Tyrion can handle, which it does look like he's just about to finish. Grom actually forces him away there. Perhaps another attack on the River Troll Hag as well. More Spirit Leeches are in order. And handful, ooh, yes, there it is. A Spirit Leech just to keep Grom's leadership low, keep him from being able to regenerate too much. The regrouped Reavers, also 80 kills on them, are going to be super critical for chasing routing units in this late game. But how about this Swordmaster? They've been just tussling with these Stone Trolls, and again, because of the high stats here, because of the chevrons, they have been able to actually fight and probably kill a few unit models. Yeah, a couple of unit models from those Stone Trolls. So it's continuing to hold out here. Tyrion does have Heart of Avalorn, so if he gets that healing proc before he routes, that will pretty much spell army losses, because I think, did Grom actually rout? Yeah, he did actually rout from that Spirit Leech. So that was nice. He might get enough HP to come back. Right now, his leadership's hanging around, what, 11? So we'll see. But all the meanwhile, these Swordmasters are still fighting. This unit has not broken. And Tyrion and the other Swordmasters coming in to reinforce. They held. All 11 of them held. They're shaken, but they're definitely still fighting. Stand your ground coming in to pop leadership and melee defense. The Mage of Death, 35 speed, is actually faster than the Orc Arrow Boys at 31 speed, so she can sort of try and chase them down. But Slade staying close, not wanting to overextend and lose his caster, understanding that that's a big portion of the balance of power here, showing so far in his favor is the fact that his caster's still alive. Of course, Tyrion being alive as well. And did Grom come back? No, he did not. He's close to the edge of the map. The trees bumping him around might lead him to heal enough to come back, but we'll see. We'll kind of keep an eye on that in the corner. Mountain Oyster on the menu, yes. Yes, definitely. But Tyrion and these Swordmasters, man, there's 9 Swordmasters, there's 10 Swordmasters, there's 49. Okay, so that unit still has 49. They're definitely quite strong at this point. Let's fast forward. Grom did unfortunately come back from rout, so that will prolong the suffering of the Greenskins here, as they will refuse to rout. But Slade taking a position somewhat in the woods is smart, but now having to come back out and fight with Tyrion here. Tyrion's actually probably doing just fine, but what this does allow is for the Swordmasters to come in and possibly get a rear charge, as this other Swordmaster is combining with the Reavers to try and finish off this one healthy-ish Orc Arrow Boy. All these regenerating targets fighting in this blob. The Swordmaster, dreaded rear charge. Grom does turn around and get a rear-facing splash attack. Nice side splash attack there. Kills a few models each time, but his leadership goes down. Tyrion actually gets straight up killed by the River Troll Hag and the trolls here, but the Death Mage also holding still. She's got 285 weapon strength, so she can come in and kind of slap the River Troll Hag a little bit, but this Swordmaster, 5145 on attack and defense. Could be enough to hold it. Balance power definitely heavily in favor of the High Elves at this point, but we'll see. I mean, I guess Grom will come back, inevitably, as will these other regenerating units, I'm sure, until they're properly shattered. Once Grom shatters, though, that leads to Greenskins player throwing in the towel. Maybe the River Troll Hag would have been able to carry in the late game, but most likely not. Anyway, Slade getting a narrow victory there, and considering the build he brought, I love it. I mean, this is ridiculously awesome. A lot of the Swordmasters actually do pay for themselves, which you would hope so. 1100 damage value on the Reavers as well. I almost think that maybe there's something to the Gold Chevron Reavers, because their melee defense is so good. As long as they don't face too much missile fire, they can clean up units until the end of time, pretty much. So, yeah. Yeah, at least without any ogres. Yeah, probably. On the Greenskin side, what else can I say? Not really too much. Some of the Stone Trolls were almost able to carry there at the end. I mean, the regenerating units for Greenskins are quite strong. Everyone knows that. So I don't really need to talk too much more about it here. Let me just check. I've got... We need some Wood Elves, so I will end today with a replay from our very own Ice Power. This is going to be Ice Power's Dark Elves versus Random Nick's Wood Elves on the Shagrath Strand map, so we're definitely in for a good time. Let's see what they can do. I am legitimately... genuinely excited for this game. Clash of Titans, 2 strong players playing strong factions. Let's see what they can bring to the table. Wow, it's a bright snowy map. Very holiday themed. Try not to let your eyes burn. But anyway, geez, it's hard for me to even look at. Dread Spears here. I need like a color filter on this one. Sad Swords, some Dark Riders. We've got some Cold One Knights, some Manticore, some Repeater Crossbows, 2 K-Knight Assassins, and Malekith on a cold one. I guess Malekith on foot, rather. Wow, I guess it does have the highest missile block chance, also cheapest. Yeah, just Soul Stealer on him. Unit Psychology. Physical resistance, missile resistance, plus missile block chance, and the armor does make him relatively tanky to certain types of Wood Elf missile fire. Not so much from the AP stuff, though, like from the Sisters of Twilight. They do have armor sundering AP, of course, on their single shot. Got some Dryads for Random Nicks here, some Glade Riders with Spears, bunch of Starfire Shafts, and regular Glade Guard mixed in as well. Eternal Guards, Spellsinger of Beasts, so no healing, but looking for Manticore Summon, or Eagle Summon, I guess? Yeah, the Eagle Summon, the dreaded Eagle Summon. Wow, who would have thought? Eagle Summon is unironically actually pretty solid, but look at this. The point-blank shots being used to deal with the K-Knight Assassin, but that is going to result in the Sisters of Twilight taking a ton of return fire, and a cheeky little Web of Shadows as well does a ton of damage to the Sisters. They're almost going to force the Conjoined Destiny super early on in the battle. Man, beautiful use of the K-Knight Assassins there. A sneaky little get on the Sisters of Twilight. They do a ton of missile damage, actually, with their little Scattershot poison, but oh no. Oh no, the Sisters are having to run the heck away from that. They do almost finish off one K-Knight Assassin, but some very good initial advantages for the Dark Elves. Anyway, Cold One Knights and the Dark Riders kind of baiting and switching over on this flank. Decent charge into those Dryads there. And Sisters of Twilight do manage to get away. They're going to start raining some shots on the Feral Manticore over there. Sunder it down to 15 armor. Excuse me, do see the Eagle Summon pulled up already. Hasn't been deployed yet, but it's ready to go. Repeater Crossbow is also moving into a position to try and shoot. Not that you necessarily need a ton of AP here. It is useful to have just in case of some random tree units. But, I mean, just in general, the Skirmish Cavalry is better than Skirmish Infantry. I would definitely agree in this matchup. But one K-Knight Assassin probably going to get taken out by the Eagle here. Thankfully, it is the one that already used its Web of Shadows. This other one also going to pop his Web of Shadows just to kill these Glade Riders with spears and help deal with that summoned Grey Eagle as well. But the Cavalry Assault over on this right flank is definitely very real at this point. You can see it's resulted in the disruption. These infantry have been able to get all the way back through and start to force away from these Dark Riders. Good Soul Stealer does hit the Sisters of Twilight. Will their Conjoined Destiny actually pop? Let's see. I mean, they're definitely within range. Only 179 HP. I forget what the modifiers on the Conjoined Destiny actually are, but okay, so it looks like it is going to go off. I see the little light floating near them. So they've just got to not route in time for that to pop, and they should be able to recover and come back. But the disruption here, I mean, a lot of archers for the Wood Elves, and the Glade Guards getting hit, especially with the extra charge bonus of Murderous Prowess currently active. The Cold One Knights, the Dark Riders too, up to 50 charge bonus. Even the Repeater Crossbows utilizing that power spike, they go up to 25 charge. Pretty solid for Missile Cavalry, honestly. They also get a missile damage buff, but just going all in to take out the Wood Elf Infantry Archers at this point is definitely the right call. You know, given that the timing push is pretty close to up. He's still got a little bit of uptime, probably about, what, a third of the uptime left of Murderous Prowess, so try and use that cavalry to best effect during that time. Another Soul Stealer going to be popped on the Sisters of Twilight. Just single targeting them at this point, trying to get rid of that high value target. Likewise, K-Knight Assassins, if we check back in, I think they're both gone. I guess one's still alive, kind of poking around this backline area here. The other one, I'm not sure exactly where he got off to, but Manticore is fighting, helping to tear out away some of this Wood Elven infantry. This kind of chaotic brawl fight definitely favors the Dark Elves here because their melee is so much better. The Wood Elves invested pretty heavily into their missile play, but at this point, things are not looking great. Sisters of Twilight, they don't really have a lot of great value targets to go after. I mean, Malekith himself is going to take pretty little damage if they're even able to hit him consistently. But just charging the Repeater Crossbows in melee, it's smart to get rid of the kind of the thing that threatens the Sisters of Twilight most at this point. But the Wood Elven army has evaporated to such a degree that it doesn't appear they'll be able to come back. We'll see. Spellslinger Lore of Beast still, I guess, has, what, Amber Spears and whatnot. Sisters of Twilight getting pretty aggressive, but here the Anti-Large of the Cold One Knights able to get in, get a few attacks on them. Ooh, nasty point-blank shot of that, the Poison Anti-Infantry style shot, but Sisters of Twilight, will they be able to get back up in the air? The Dark Riders catching them, they shouldn't be able to get back up in the air, so that's probably a GG. And it looks like Ice Power will be able to take home a win against Random Nicks, Wood Elves. The K-Knight Assassins getting the early picks at the Sisters of Twilight. I mean, the Sisters of Twilight obviously have much greater range. That was definitely a mistake to come that far forward, and I guess he was just trying to take out the K-Knight Assassins, but yeah, they ended up dealing way more damage in return to the Sisters, and I do like that. I mean, K-Knight Assassins, I say this pretty frequently, and I've decided now. I mean, Skaven Assassins are very, very good. I also really like the Gobbo Big Boss, but for me, best assassin-type hero has got to be the K-Knight Assassin. I mean, the poison, the Web of Shadows, the ranged attack, the also has an assassination debuff, right? You've got, does he have Witch Brew or something? Black Dragon Egg, which is mostly useless. Anyway, great character, to be honest. Really cost-effective in a number of situations. Definitely proved pretty impactful here, helping with that character fight. And then just the cavalry on the big timing push with that. Once that Murderous Prowess is active, like using all of your cavalry, even the skirmish cavalry, just charging them into melee to shut down all of this missiles for the Wood Elves. Definitely the right call. Dryads had a little bit of a tough time in the front line. I kind of get what you're going for with Dryads here, but I just find that even against like Bleak Swords, they can trade well, certainly, but I don't know, maybe it would have been beneficial to try and take some Blade Singers or even the War Dancers or something else. Anyway. Yeah, very nice bait and switch for sure. For sure. Oh, Murderous Prowess with Horn of the Wild Hunt. You know, you can do some pretty hilarious things. Or like Murderous Prowess combined with Wah. Because at least it used to be, it probably isn't still the case that Wah would affect your ally. I don't think that's the case. I'd have to test it out. Anyone who's played 2v2 recently with greenskins can let me know. Will Wah actually affect your allies' units as well? Because that would be hilarious if you got Murderous Prowess plus Wah at the same time. That would be absolutely absurd. Anyway, that's all the time I have for tonight, folks. Thank you all so much for coming out. Happy holidays to you all. I won't see you live again before, or I should say until after the holidays. So, well, maybe. You know, I might do a stream this week. Just another kind of random King of the Hill before I leave. I'm going out of town on Wednesday, and I'll be back on the 30th, so I'll be here to end the year with you guys. We'll do another community replay stream around that time, so feel free to keep dropping those replays into the replay folder on Discord. If I didn't get to your replay today, or if you think there's one in particular that I should get to next time, just ping me on it and say, hey, for the community replay stream, and I'll try and remember and kind of save those ones going forward. But yeah, thank you all so much. Been an absolute pleasure. I love doing this for you guys. I really, you know, prioritize making time for this because I enjoy it so much. So thank you all so much. You guys are a big reason, the main reason, right? The only reason you might say for that. But anyway, thank you all so much. You guys are the best.